All right, here's my WARN Zeon Platinum. This is the one that is completely wireless, and I've been threatening for a long time to take it apart and figure out exactly how to get a hardwired wiring to some switches in cab. And so here I am back in the Mechan Hack Shack, ready to figure out the wiring. And I got some good news for you. Now, I had searched wide and far to find instructions from anybody, even called WARN to try to get instructions for how to do hard wiring for in-cab switches for the winch. And they basically said they weren't going to tell me. And I haven't seen anybody else publish exactly how to wire this up. So I think I figured it out, and we'll see some testing, and I'll show you what happens. So I'm not going to go into all of the process to figure it out, but taking off this cap reveals all of the wires, and I'm just going to cut straight to the chase. I figured out that these wires in the back that come out here, these guys are solely for the free spool switch. There's 4 wires in here, and when power is sent to engage in free spool, you need to send power to the green wire. I didn't go and figure out and reverse engineer all of everything that's going on here. There's, when you send power to green, it also sends power to yellow. And then ground is your white and red. And so all I did is splice in to the green wire, another green wire that I'll use for sending a signal to engage the free spool. Now, when you wire it to a switch, you do need to make sure that you are sending 12-volt power the entire time that it is in free spool. So you can do that a number of ways. You can have one switch. If you're doing hard switches, you can have a switch that's in free spool, but then you'll need to manually turn it off as you go to spool in and out or winch in and out. Or if you're using like a Switch Pros type setup, you can actually, when you go and press winch in, automatically turn off your free spool. And on this side, you have neutral in the middle. And when you send 12-volt power to this white wire, or it's labeled number 1, that is winching out. And when you send 12-volt power to number 3, it's also a green wire. Then that will then turn the winch to winch in. And then for wire management, I routed my new wires that are inside the cap to come through the wire loom that they have already set up to route these wires through. And I'll bring them back around to the outside and zip tie this all together here. And I'll get a waterproof 3-pin connector to connect this all together to then run wires inside the cab. And after putting it all back together and adding my wires, I just wanted to make sure that the wireless controller still works, so I can still go into free spool, and I can still do winch in and winched out and free spool. So I changed my mind on how I brought ground to the winch in and winch out. You saw that I had jumpered it, but instead I disconnected that and ran another wire. So now I have 4 wires. So I used this 4-wire connector that I connected like that. And I changed the ground because the Switch Pros will let you send a negative signal on one of your line presses. And so when I do my winch in or winch out, I'm actually sending a ground to the winch as well. And I did that to basically mirror how the winch works from the wireless remote as well. So here I can show you how it works. Here's the free spool. So now free spool is active. And so now I can free spool out. And so I'll turn off free spool, and then I can winch in and winch out, winch in again. And I set up these switches on momentary switches, so you have to be pressing them in order for it to operate. And after hardwiring it, it did not interrupt usage of the wireless control. So I can still do free spool. You can see that activated free spool. And I can still winch in and winch out.